Welcome back to Santapod for the FIM Super Street Bike Racing here at the FIM European Finals. This huge event marks the final round for the FIM European Championship, with the ACU series concluding in 3 weeks' time at the National Finals. We have 19 bikes entered from the UK and across Europe, and the promise of some very exciting racing to come.
A few problems back in Hockenheim. You got second place, but there was a problem with the motor in the semi-final.
Yeah, in the semis, I won the semi-final race, but I dropped a valve just over the finish line. So I didn't have time to swap an engine, so I couldn't make the final race.
Are we back to number one engine, or have you got a couple of engines that are the same quality?
I fixed the number one engine, and everything's okay again, yeah.
Obviously very tight competition, so are you confident for this round?
I'm as confident as I can be because everybody's on the game, so I'm just going to do what I normally do and hopefully it'll pan out okay.
Straight into Q1, and it's Mark Dainty out on a solo. He made a great debut back at the Summer Nats, and he's on an absolute flyer here. Whoa, a 754 at 194. He'll be happy with that one. SSB 79, that's Margot Schmidt from the Netherlands taking on Dave Thomas. Margot was running PB numbers back at the main event, getting into the sevens. More problems for Dave, but look at Margot, a stunning 754 at 185, a huge PB, and no doubt one very happy rider. Graham Dance in the far lane, Rodolfo Maduro of Dolfo Racing closest to us. Graham back after damage at the Summer Nats. Two good opening runs here. 756 for Graham, 725 for Rodolfo, and the number one spot for now. Mark Hope furthest away and hoping for some reliability this weekend. That's Gary Bow in the Autoglim lane. Gary off the power though, and Mark drifting towards the wall at the top end. Very windy conditions making it very tricky out on track. Gemma Venables with the wild ride closest to us. That's Germany's Knut Müller. He's sensibly off the power, but a good MPH for Gemma. Austria's Eric Gruber on the Kawasaki, and making a welcome return to Santapod, it's Thomas Granitza. Oh wow, beautifully held there. Amazingly though, he's back on the power. And Thomas posts an 850 at 162, no doubt sporting one or two bruises though after that one. Problems in the coal-fire lane for Eric. Now Steve Mead reached the semi-finals out of the Nitro Olympics in Hockenheim along with Steve Venables, Rick Stubbins and Graham Balchin, so he's a man on form. That's Clemens Volliet with the wheel stand in the coal-fire lane. Steve's on a flyer, then clicks it off at half-track. Not what either rider was looking for. And the winner of the Nitro Olympics at the Summer Nationals up next, Graham Balchin alongside the Team Brothers rider all the way from Hungary, Daniel Donalentz. Very quick launches for both riders. Daniel lifting the front wheel all the way down the track, 722 for him, and an impressive 717 at 200 for Graham, taking over the number one spot. Simon brings Rudy Zorzi up to the line, and that's Steve Venables closest to us. 2 6-second 200-mile-an-hour bikes, then drifting towards the centre line at the top end, but he stays with it, taking over number one spot with a 716 at a slow for him 186. Last pair in Q1, and it's numbers 1 and 2 in the FIM Europe Championship, Rick Stubbins and Mogens Lund. Mogens got into the sixes in Hockenheim, but he's getting close to the guardrail and sits up. Rick opens up his account with a stout 729. Lots of work in the pits between qualifiers and the promise of 3 more sessions to come here at Santapod's European Finals.
Graham, last round, great result for you. In fact, great result for all the Brits, but you came out on top.
Yeah, I was a lucky boy, but I'll take it. Yes, first time I've won Hockenheim. So I made it to the semi-finals 4 times, but this is the first time I've made it to the final and I managed to get it done. So absolutely delighted, yeah.
And so far continuing, you're number 2 qualifier at the moment with 17.
Yeah, Steve took the number 1 off by 1/100th of a second, which is always seems to happen to me. But yeah, number 2 at the moment, so I'm in a good position. I can start trying things now. I mean, I'm qualified, so I can relax and try some stuff on the track now.
And the bike's obviously got enough in it, hasn't it, really, to match anybody out there on a good day?
I can see a 6 in it, and that's enough, definitely, yeah.
Rick's in front of me with about 50 points, and the possibility is there for both Steve Venables and myself, but we'll see on Sunday.
Now, I know that first qualifying run, you only really did a very mild run for you, but I'm sure you know there's more to come.
Yeah, the wind took me out there, so I had to shut off after 1,000 feet. I was getting too close to the wall, but hopefully on the right side I'll correct a little more and it'll be a better one.
Margot, we spoke to you at the start of the year. You were delighted to have run your first 7. You're now way down, 750s. Yeah. It's going well.
Yeah, it's going ridiculously fast. It surprises me every time again.
Is there more in the bike, or are you getting towards its limit?
Well, it's reaching its limit. It's going to be baby steps, but it's not at the limit yet, so can tweak it a bit more.
And now you've stepped up into this class and you're really in the thick of it. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. It's absolutely stunning that I'm kind of keeping up with the guys. I wasn't be able to before, so it's very joyful.
Margot helped this weekend by a big inflatable flamingo. On to Q2 late on Friday afternoon. This a much better run for Eric Gruber. 7.69 at 182 in the cool evening air. Clemens Vliet closest to us. And Gary Bow, though, he's putting a really storming run in the coal-fire lane. A 7.03 at 205 for Gary moves him to number 1 spot, but big improvements as well there for Clemens. Ven Racing's Gemma Venables on a very quick run here, and improvements for Dave Thomas on the Kawasaki. A 7.70 for Gemma, 8.21 for Dave, but he's at number 17 spot at the moment, so he is outside the qualified field. Now Mark Hope ran a 7.70 in Q1. Knut Muller had a wild ride, but a better run for him this time, getting into the top 16 at number 16 with a 7.86, giving us a 7-second bump spot. Well, Graham Dance is hungry for a good run after chasing Niggles on the bike. Mark Dainty pulling up the front wheel at the hit, so no improvement for him, but a stout 7.50 at 194 for Graham will put a smile back on his face. Margot Schmidt safely qualified with a 7.54, as is Rick with a 7.29, but he'll be shooting for the top spot, and this is looking a quick run for Rick. Yes, he improves to a 7.05 at 202, moving into the number 3 spot. HB Racing's Mogens Lund from Denmark ran a 7.51 in Q1. Rodolfo Maduro a 7.25, but a 7.13 moves Mogens up to number 4 spot and Rodolfo up to number 6. Wheelie away from the line for Graham Bouchin. That bike is lively this weekend. Italy's Rudy Zorzi in the Autoglim lane. No improvements for either rider, but let's take another look at that launch. Graham controlling that bike absolutely beautifully. And to wrap up Q2, we have Steve Venables and Daniel Donalentz. Steve was bumped into second spot by Gary Bow's 7.03. He improves, but stays in place.
Yeah, we've had a tough year really because we've had some injector issues that we had to send them back to America to get them to get them fixed. And also we're having that new Motec ECU on there. It's much quicker. And data logs things at a quicker rate, and Brad's seen problems that we could never previously see before with the gold box. So he's been designing firmware and software package to compensate for all that. And this meeting, it's just, well, we tried it at the Red Line Rumble and we were getting places there. And then we've come out this meeting, I fitted a new tyre, which we spun up on the first round, so we didn't have any data really for the second run, and we turned it down actually from what we can run. And on that one we went out there and we didn't have any traction problems, so it's obviously Santapod's doing a fantastic job. You know, the guys are prepping it to a brilliant standard now in this type of weather, because it even feels a little bit damp in the air. And well, we run 703 on it, so they're obviously doing something right.
Day 2, and after rain delays, it's late in the evening before the class takes to the track. Steve Mead is not yet qualified, but this run looks like he'll get the job done. He needs to run a 786 and runs a 734. Back from his wild ride in Q1 and not yet qualified is Germany's Thomas Granitzer. He needs a 770 to get in the field, but a 772 means he's still on the outside looking in. Frustration for Dave Thomas as the bike pulls through the beams. Mark Hope is the man on the bump spot with his 770 run from Q1, but that's a precarious place to be. But no improvement for him on this run. Fluid leak for Mark Dainty on the line means Margot's on a solo. She's safely in the field with her 754 from Q1. No improvement, but still a good run for Schmidt Performance Racing. Gemma Venables ran a 7.709 in Q2. Number 16 qualifier Mark Hope ran a 7.708. A 7.65, that'll do nicely, putting her safely back in the field for now. A couple more runs to bring you from Q3. Rudy Zorzi really struggling to keep that wheel down. He backs out of it. Rodolfo Maduro posting another strong 7.1 though in the coal-fire lane. And to wrap up Q3, it's number 1 qualifier Gary Bow. And another strong pass, but he doesn't improve on his 7.03. Big news from the pits is that because of today's rain, Super Street Bike will have their 4th and final qualifier tomorrow morning on what is usually only Eliminations Day.
Okay, Gemma, one more qualifier to go. You're in. I think you're in at 13th at the moment. It's very, very tight at both ends. Things can move a lot. Are you thinking there's going to get a little bit more out of the bike for this one?
Yes, we've sorted a lot of issues. In most of qualifying, I didn't have 5th gear at all, so I was losing a lot top end. But we've got that back, so we've been able to tune it up a little bit more. I've got my little honey button as well, if I feel safe, so I can hit that top end and have a bit more boost. So I reckon there's a lot of improvement.
Steve's bike's running well as well?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. The headwind hasn't helped. So that's holding the mile an hour back a lot. So it's a little bit less today, so that'll help us.
So on to the all-important final qualifying session. Dave Thomas, the man from Llanelli, is having a trying weekend. Current number 19 position. And this run means that's exactly where he's going to stay. Last year's 7-second form eluding him. Knut Müller, closest to us, needs a quicker than 770 run if he wants to knock Mark Hope in the far lane off the bump spot. It doesn't look like he's going to do it, so Mark is safe for now. Clipping the blocks though means Knut's run wouldn't have counted anyway. Well, Thomas Granitzer currently sits at number 17. He needs to beat Mark Hope's 770 to get in the show. Up he goes to the stripe. Oh, he's done it! A 742 moves him up to number 10. Clemens moves up to number 14. So that's the top 16 places filled with 3 bikes not qualified. Big wheelies for Eric Gruber. No such problems for Mark Dainty, who's on another flyer, posting a 758 at 190 miles an hour. Steve Mead and Gemma Venables, 2 of the British contingent who raced out in Hockenheim in August. Steve qualified with a 734, Gemma a 765. Slight improvement though for Gemma. Both bikes running at almost identical speeds there. Margot in the far lane is very pleased to be sitting mid-table in this top-class field from across Europe. Huge wheelie though for Rodolfo, so he sits up, and no improvements for either rider. Graham Dance on the G-Sign BTC Moto Suzuki is sitting comfortably mid-table. Graham Bouchin on the Maverick Racing Kawasaki is currently at number 5 with a 7:15. No improvements though on this run. Rudy Zorzi of Carbonera Racing has been chasing performance this weekend. Rick Stubbins on the ProTech racing bike has been lethally consistent. Good MPH for Rudy, but no improvements in ET for either man. Steve Venables is off like a rocket. The Hungarian bounty hunter chasing him down though and lifting the front wheel. Big MPH for Steve, but he stays at number 2. The last 2 bikes in qualifying are Gary Bow on the Team Bow BTC Moto bike closest to us, and Mogens Lund with the backing from Sunoco. Gary's at number 1 spot with a 7:03, Mogens at number 4 with a 7:13. And that's an improvement for Mogens, but he stays in place. So at the end of 4 tough qualifiers, it's Gary Bow at the top of the tree with Rick Stubbins needing 2 round wins to wrap up the FIM Europe Super Street Bike Championship for 2018. Into round 1 of the 16 bike field at Santa Pod's European Finals. Steve Mead's lightningly quick away from the lights, but he's got problems. Rudy Zorzi runs straight and true, taking the win with a 7:31 to Steve's limping home 14:25. Well, Mogens Lund is a man on form at the moment and not who Margot Schmidt would have wanted to meet in round 1. Mogens gets the drop on Margot and makes absolutely no mistake. He's hungry for the championship win and does what he needs to do, taking the win with a 7:04 at 204. Mark Dainty on the Born to be Wild racing bike is taking on Graham Bouchin, another very tough competitor. And Graham's quicker away from the lights and keeps the advantage the whole way down to take the win against Mark's quickest run of the weekend, a 7:51. You couldn't make this stuff up. Father and daughter racing each other in round 1. Steve and Jenna Venables for a place in the quarters. And it's Gemma away from the lights first with a .003 reaction time. But it's Steve who takes the lead and the win with the first 6-second run of the weekend. Daniel Donalentz qualified with a 7:22, Thomas Granitza with a 7:42. It's Thomas with the better reaction time. Daniel will be kicking himself. It's very close at the top end, but it's Thomas in the Autoglim lane who takes the win thanks to the whole shot reaction time. Applause from Simon as we watch the replay. That was one of the races of the season. Hopefully the top end smoke isn't damaged though for Thomas. Rodolfo Maduro qualified number 6, 5 places above Graham Dance, but everyone's a tough competitor in this class. Graham gets the better reaction time, but the bike goes skywards. Rodolfo's off and away, taking the win with his quickest run of the weekend. The team looking happy with that one. Nervous times for Rick Stubbins. He needs this round win. It's green light drag racing. Rick making no mistakes. And he's done it! Taking the win against Clemens Valley. Final pairing in round 1, and it's Gary Bow we just saw burning out, taking on Austria's Eric Gruber. A big wheelie for Eric, so Gary should have this one. Well, it's Gary who takes the win, but that smoke does not look good. Elation to frustration in just a few seconds.
Second father-daughter run. We've had one from Top Fuel. We had another one here. This one went the other way, but that was actually one of Gemma's better runs, wasn't it?
It was, you know, I put a good tune up in Gemma's bike, you know, and she actually killed me out the gate because she went in real quick, and I thought anyone else I'd make wait and get comfortable, but I'm like, oh, I'll just go in, I don't want to mess her game up, and she just 0.0 light, 0.3 light on me, and I'm like, little moo. But no, I obviously caught her up, and I was hanging out the side of the bike, but we managed to get a 6.99 out of it, so it's pretty impressive in this wind.
Well, you've been hovering around the number one spot all weekend. Didn't quite get it in terms of final qualification, but obviously the number one qualifier has now gone out with engine damage. So overall, you're as confident as anybody else in the field.
You can never be overconfident. You can just do what you can. I mean, there's a lot of fast bikes out there now. The wind is it's pretty much straight on today, so it's not as bad as qualifying where it kept putting me into the wall or the centre line. So yeah, I'm trying as best I can. I've got a bye run, I believe, now because Thomas is broke. So I'm just going to try something, and let's just hope we can get back keeping the sixes. I should have a good chance.
Well, breakages taking their toll in this hard-fought class. Rudy Zorzi just breaking the beams to take the win against a no-show Gary Bow and punching the air for good measure. Well, the next race is a pair with Denmark's Mogens Lund taking on Graham Bouchin. Oh, it's a huge wheelie for Graham Bouchin. That one must have hurt. He did so well to hang on, but no such problems for Mogens as he powers on through to take the win. Let's have another look though at that replay. The bike going almost vertical, both wheels off the ground and coming down hard. Boyce doing his best there to look concerned. Some damage done to Graham and his bike on that one, but we're sure he'll be back out again soon. Well held, sir. So we heard in Steve's interview that Thomas Granitza is broken, but Steve won't be taking it easy. This one's looking fast, and wow, look at that, a 6.96 at 208 for Steve Venables. Rodolfo Magiro taking on Rick Stubbins. It's Rodolfo with a better reaction time. Rick's in chase mode. This one is going to be close. And it's Rick who takes the win with a 7.18 at 200 miles an hour. And also the 2018 championship. Well done to Rick and the ProTech Racing team. Semi-final time here at Santapod. It's 6 in the evening and still pretty cool, blustery conditions. And the big news is that Rudy Zorzi did damage in the quarterfinals, so it's a solo for Mogens. Oh, but not taking it easy on this run. Powering on to book his place in the final with a 7.13 at 206 miles per hour. Two regular sparring partners meet in the second semi-final, Rick Stubbins and Steve Venables. Rick with the better reaction time, but Steve's hit form just at the right time. Rick's bike unsettled at half track, so it's Steve who powers on to take the win to meet Mogens in the final. Late on Sunday night, and this is the final. Steve Venables with backing from DME taking on Mogens Lund. This race will also decide second and third positions in the FIM Europe Super Street Bike Championship. All to play for. Steve gets the better reaction time, but the bike's very lively. This one's too close to call, but at the stripe, It's Mogans who takes the win with his first 6-second pass at Santa Pod, also securing second place in the championship. What an amazing weekend's racing that was, with the win eventually going to Mogans Lund.
This was a do or die. Steve and me, before going into that round, was equal in points for second place in the championship. We've been struggling all week, and yesterday had to change the ECU, borrow it from some French guy who stood down here in the corner when I came around, and they were just, yeah, cheering.
As Mogans and Steve collect their trophies, we caught up with the 2018 champion, Rick Stubbins.
I managed to just do enough to win the championship. So that all worked out, and I tried my best in the semi-final, but I just put a bit too much in and a few wheelies, so I backed out of it.
But when it comes down to it, winning the championship is really the main aim of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, to win the championship, yeah.
So that wraps up the FIM Championship, but we still have one round to run for the ACU Series. That will take place in a few weeks' time back here at Santa Pod at the National Finals. We'll see you then.